A modern classic filled with all of the sorts of themes you expect from a Western movie, but a modern Western with all the bits and pieces put together, and they come together just brilliantly. This is 1995. Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe, even an appearance by Gary Sinise, The Quick and the Dead. The Quick and the Dead, not to be confused with the 1987 film with Sam Elliott. The Quick and the Dead from 1995 is a Western that I loved. I used to have it on a VHS tape in the dorm back in the 90s. I don't know how many times I have watched this film. It really does not get the sort of attention or respect that it deserves. Now, in cinema, a really good cinema knows when to be original and when to copy the greats, when to use the timeless tales of the hero's journey or the epic quest or the father being redeemed by the son and all these other sort of elements. Good romantic comedies will take a lot of things from Shakespeare, throw them together and see what happens. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. Other times you catch that genie in the bottle. You get things like 10 Things I Hate About You with a hodgepodge of all these Shakespearean things thrown together, and it comes out brilliant and entertaining. Westerns tend to lean heavily on religious themes. I think part of this is because they're set generally in the 19th century when people settlers out onto the prairie, they tended to be a lot more religious than our current society. There's always a little church in every town. There's a little house on the prairie sort of lifestyle going on against the backdrop of the lawlessness of the cowboy and the outlaw and the villains. And so that setting seems natural then for this fusion of Puritan religion has ended, but that Puritan sort of mindset headed west into the maelstrom of godlessness in so many ways. Our Western movies have these religious, theological sorts of themes in them. Redemption, people return from the dead, biblical justice, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. You find this stuff in Clint Eastwood Westerns, Pale Rider, Hang 'em High, you name it. The Quick and the Dead takes a whole bunch of these and it slurries them together, and it will either work or not work. And I felt like everything about this movie was just brilliantly done. You take a little town in a nondescript, middle of nowhere, desert sort of region. You call the town Redemption. You have it run by an evil thug named Mr. Herod, who has overthrown the previous legitimate dynasty, like King Herod in the Bible, overthrowing the Hasmonean line. He has overthrown justice, killed the marshal, taken over the town, runs it like with an iron fist. He likes to keep an eye on his enemies. He's paranoid, he's brutal, just like the historical Herod. So he has the annual quick draw contest to draw out his enemies and their efforts to kill him. We get Sharon Stone's character. She's the prodigal daughter. Well, she's the daughter who grows up and wants revenge. And often in mythos, this is the son, but this is a daughter in this version. Her dad being the marshal who was killed. She comes back all these years later, and it's not just for nothing that she's the female. It makes her sort of the unexpected character. She now is the one that can get the attention of men and of Mr. Herod himself, who thinks she's vaguely familiar but doesn't remember her as the little girl all those years ago that he watched while he killed her father. She's able to seem relatively harmless, kind of a joke. They put her in the contest. She's able to reveal herself at the appropriate time when she wants justice for her father, or is it revenge? We have Russell Crowe's character, Court, who was a hired gun that worked with Mr. Herod and did horrible things. He has tried to live a life of repentance. He became a priest, apparently at a mission. They call him father or preacher, and he's got a collar that he wears, being drugged against his will back into this life as they try to get him to break his vows and return to his old lifestyle. And Herod's illegitimate, unrecognized until it's too late son, the kid, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. The whole film is filled with these nuances of biblical and historical, theological, redemption arc stories, and it does such a good job of giving us of everything you want in a Western. We have the character of Ace Hamlin. He's not a big character, but he's the gunman that lies about himself and his background. He pays the penalty for it, but who dresses in the flashy outfit. He has the whole theme with the ace. He's almost like he's trying to be an Old West Joker. You've got that sort of character in this. You've got the really greasy pimp who abuses and mistreats women. You've got the ruffian cowboy types on the prairie with their various levels of uncleanliness and despicable behavior. You get a black American who's a professional shootist who does just a fabulous character in his own right. You even get a Native American gunman. You get a visitor from Sweden. Like all of these things you might find on the prairie, on the frontier, or at least find them in a Western movie. They're all lumped together in this. And the cinematography, I can't say enough good things about. And the music, the soundtrack, it is very Western. The cinematography is very on point, artistic, creepy. The closing of shutters, people ducking, people diving, with the music playing, the lighting, everything about it is just poetry in motion. It is art. It is a painted canvas up on a screen that you can just stare at, and yet it is moving and it's telling you a story. There's even by the end the crazy relationship between the kid and the lady, and he sleeps on this explosive, which there's 1,000 metaphors in that. Then they hatch the plot to undo, finally, the evil reign of Herod. And it all involved pretending that she's dead. So there's a death and resurrection sort of theme, though she's not really dead. They fake her death so that Sharon Stone's character can return. And the climax, the actual shootout, it doesn't get any more solidly Western than that. That when she confronts the bad guy, Herod he puts his gun in the holster. They're going to do the quick draw. It's going to be an honest competition at that point. You're not fast enough for me. She says, today I am. And the really cool twist that if you pay attention, he does draw faster than her. He is the fastest, like he said, but he doesn't get his target. He wounds her, but her bullet makes a hole in him that allows the sun to shine through. And again, the weird theological sort of reference to the piercing of his flesh and the way he looks when he falls, except he's not the Christ figure. He's the one that is condemned by the one that has risen from the dead. Just an amazing movie. The Quick and the Dead has it all. It's got the cinematography, it's got the music, it's got the scenery, it's got this great assortment of characters, a very basic, simple sort of Western moral tale, but filled with a lot of stars. It's cool seeing Gary Sinise in it. Olivia Burnett from The Torkelsons and Almost Home, and she was in a few other things. This is the Western that she appeared in, being the little girl. And a slew of other recognizable, known actors, character actors and actresses. Just good stuff. If you haven't seen Quick and the Dead, you really need to see Quick and the Dead. If you've seen it, let me know what you think below. Maybe you disagree with me vehemently, but it is one of my favorite Westerns. Probably the only one that's on my list of favorite Westerns that doesn't involve Clint Eastwood in some form or isn't True Grit. But check it out. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.